the Celtics playing host to the Sixers, Philadelphia at Boston. The winner getting a play date with Jimmy Buckets and the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. Did you watch? Were you checking this game out? Did you observe the afternoon hoop action? Maybe not. So as far as the game itself, Jason Tatum scored 51 points. 51. He was balanced. He had 25 in the first half, 26 in the second half. But the game was decided in the third quarter. Jaylen Brown added 25, but it was a evisceration situation for Boston taking down Philly in the third quarter. You saw the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Wow. 112-88 would be the final. That counts as a rat kill situation. So the Celtics take the series in 7 games. Boston led by as many as 30 points in this game. They were tied up early in the second half, but they would lead by 30 at one point later on there. The better story, though, is in the losing locker room, and boy, is it good. Boy, is this right in my wheelhouse. Right, there's a batting practice high fastball right down the middle. Doc Rivers, holy cannoli. He's done it yet again. The man is a machine. He is a factory. And the factory of sadness, of course, would be what he is here. But the Philadelphia had multiple chances to win this series. They had a home game in Philly. They blew it. And here in Game 7 on the road, they were within reasonable distance. They were down by a few points at halftime and were tied up early in the second half, and they end up losing the game. So let us discuss the question. And the question here is rather obvious. How much of the blame does Doc Rivers get for this loss for the Sixers? Keeping in mind, he didn't actually play in the game, but he was on the sidelines calling up the X's and O's in theory. So I've got McDonald's, Samurai, and Superpower. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a nice relocation situation is what Doc Rivers has. He will be relocating out of the Delaware Valley somewhere else on the NBA circuit, as he will not be invited back to coach the Sixers. But we'll start with this. Doc Rivers has done it again. The man has done it again. And for that, rather than rip him, I think we should celebrate Doc Rivers. Seriously. I mean, my entire life, this is Doc Rivers right here, right? There are few things in life as dependable, as reliable as a Doc Rivers coaching job in a playoff series. Rivers has cornered the market on playoff flops. I don't know how he does it. He's got the proprietary blend, whatever combination he puts together. They're very impressive. Now, some people said, and I heard idiots, morons who said, well, it's because of the Clippers. That's why he's got this reputation. Once he gets away from the Clippers and goes somewhere else again, he'll be fine. Okay? He's been in Philadelphia for several years. How is that working out? Let me know. Let me know how that's working out now that he's not the Clipper problem. He's the Philadelphia problem. Okay, there's a case here. This is the, and we mentioned this in a previous episode of the show. When you talk about Doc Rivers blowing playoff series from a coaching perspective, he is the common denominator. Doc Rivers is the consistent thing in all of these stories here. And the trustworthiness of Glenn Rivers in playoff series, he is now 17-33 in his career straight up with a chance to clinch a playoff series. The 33 losses are the most by any coach in the history of that sport. No one has sucked more at a time you cannot suck than Doc Rivers on the sideline. But what about the championship? Okay. What about it? It's a pimple on an elephant's ass when you look at what Doc Rivers has done in his career. His teams now, the teams that he has guided, have now lost 10 Game 7s. 10 of them. That is more than any other coach in NBA history, and Doc Rivers also has the record for the most series blown up 3-1. That does not apply here, but Doc, over his career, has 4 times in his career blown a 3-1 series lead. And you know what he is? Doc Rivers is like McDonald's. Now, McDonald's, whether you like it or not, there's a consistency to McDonald's that I've been to Mickey D's all over the country. And anytime I go into a McDonald's and I want a Big Mac, I know what I'm going to get is consistent, whether I'm in California or in Maine or in Florida or in Hawaii. I know what I'm going to get. I know the quality is going to be there. The ingredients are going to be the same. And that's Doc Rivers, right? Doc Rivers, he's created his own sandwich, the McChoke. That's the Doc Rivers sandwich. It's on the menu. You can get supersized if you want. And you can be, if you look at this, you can be within reasonable distance of tremendous success. And then you take a bite out of the McChoke, and you need help. You need the Heimlich maneuver. It is a familiar experience. It is something that we have come to appreciate this time of the year. It is a rite of passage, if you will. Man alive. And keep in mind, the NBA does not think that coaches matter that much. And my position has been similar to that. Well, why are you blaming Doc Rivers? Let me explain. All right. Coaches can get in the way. They're not going to push you over the top, per se. Like, if you don't have what it takes, they're not going to push you over the top. But an incompetent stooge as a coach can be your undoing. And that appears to be Doc Rivers. Easily replaceable. Bad coach can really, as Al Michaels would say, caca it up as manure. Now, page 2 here. What happened to Joel Embiid and James Harden? And we're going to talk more about these guys as we go through the overnight. But if you saw the game on Sunday, it was a 3-point game at halftime. It was a toss-up game, up for grabs. Joel Embiid had 13 points midway through the game. The key stats were relatively even across the board. It was anyone's game. It was tied up. The Sixers scored early in the second half, in the third quarter there, and they had tied it up. And then that's when Doc Rivers worked his magic. And it's almost like the players had been drugged there as he passed out tranquilizers in the team huddle on the Sixers sidelines as a clandestine, demonic wormhole opened up right there on the court at the Garden, swallowing up the 76ers. The third quarter was a horror movie. It was the Dawn of the Dead third quarter of this game. Philly took 21 shots from the floor. They made 3 of them. And from three-point range, they were 2 of 13. And wow, that's impressive. That wasn't because the Celtics were playing amazing defense. They were missing shots that were there for them. And Joel Embiid scored as many points in that game-deciding third quarter as you had and I had combined. He had a grand total of 0. He pitched a shutout, 0 for 4 from the floor. Jason Tatum, meanwhile, scored 17 points, outscored the entire Sixers team 17-10 as side-by-side comparisons go. Next level of suckage for the Sixers and Doc Rivers team there. And strike up the band. Na-na-na-na, la-la-la-la, hey, hey, goodbye. Yeah, they're out again there. And remember, Reggie Miller over there on TNT, we talked about this at the time it happened, but Reggie Miller had said after Philly won Game 5 in Boston that was a signature career-defining game for Joel Embiid. And then Joel Embiid said, hold my beer. Hold my beer. Who goofed? I've got to know. Embiid whined. He got the MVP because he whined. He complained. And Nikola Jokic, the real MVP of the NBA, is in the Final Four. And Joel Embiid is making excuses. More on that coming up later. But he did not back it up, Embiid, in the playoffs. All right, last word here. All right, final word. So what does the future hold for Doc Rivers? Glenn Rivers is his name, and coaching playoff basketball is not his game. So Philadelphia will fire his ass. I will guarantee that he is going to lose his job. He's got a couple years left on his contract. You can't bring him back. There's no way you can bring him back. It's only money. He'll get a job somewhere else. and the relationship has grown stale. The novelty, if there ever was a novelty, has worn off. Doc Rivers has now coached 4 teams: Orlando, Boston, the Clippers, and the Sixers. And you have to think that Mr. Personality, Doc Rivers, moves back to the makeup chair and he will be doing television, whether it's TNT or ESPN. That is in his future. Now, that said, I would not put it – he's such a charlatan, Doc Rivers. I would not put it past Doc Rivers to leave Philadelphia and then get an interview for the Phoenix job or the job in Milwaukee. And I'll tell you why. Doc Rivers has a lot of friends. People love Doc Rivers. People who work in that business. I've talked to him. So how does he keep getting jobs? They love him. He's wonderful at cocktail parties. You want to have him at your party. It's great. It's wonderful. All right, and that's the issue here. And his superpower is that he is a butterfly, a social butterfly. And, it's like Superman. It's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's a butterfly. It's a social butterfly. That is Doc Rivers. He can schmooze your shorts off. And he's very chummy with some powerful people. Many of them own teams, and he's got an excuse for everything. Doc Rivers is very charming. He is debonair, and that helps him dominate. It's really not whether you can do the job, it's can you get the job, and Doc Rivers has proven he can get the job. And he'll get his tentacles. If he can get an interview, Doc Rivers will get his tentacles. And I wouldn't put it past him to get another coaching job. He should be doing television. He shouldn't have got another job after the Clippers experience, but they gave him one in Philadelphia, the idiots. And that said, his kryptonite, obviously the playoffs, which makes the 08 Celtics title the most improbable championship in this last generation, outside, of course, the fake bubble, which doesn't count because that was at a resort in Orlando. But of legitimate championship runs, the Doc Rivers Celtics, the single most amazing championship in recent NBA history. And so kudos to Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and Ray Allen that they were able to overcome the dead weight on the sidelines, coaching malpractice. And that Celtic team was able to win 2 Game 7s on that championship run as they went on to win the title that year despite Doc Rivers. All right, let's hear from Doc Rivers. We have some sound bites here. We'll hear from Doc. Let's see here. Here's Doc. You hear the question and the answers he's asked about his employment future in Philadelphia.
Are you planning to be the coach of the team next year?
Yeah, I think I got 2 years left.
Yeah, so. Right.
Given the tenor of what you've seen happen in the last 2 or 3 days, where coaches of the year, guys with titles.
Yeah, no one's safe in our business, and I get that.
Yeah, I remember when Doc was on the sidelines choking on a chicken wing while the Clippers lost to the Nuggets. I guess it was a nugget he was choking on. And right after the game, they said Doc's going to be back as the coach of the Clippers. And we saw how that worked out. Here's one more from Doc Rivers, and he is selling the positives in Philadelphia.
I'm disappointed. I thought we had the right group. I really did. And I knew, it's funny. I look out and I you talk about keeping receipts sometimes, you know what I mean? I don't think a person in this room picked the Sixers, not one. But we did. And we chose to believe that we could win anyway. And we almost pulled it off. Game 6 will be something we'll think about. Game 7 will be something we think about. But as far as our guys fight against everybody who picked against us, they didn't care. They thought they could still win this series. And that's something good about our team. I thought overall we were fighters.
Hey, Doc, you didn't win the fight. The people that said you were going to lose were right. You're losers. Where the L? Where the L, Doc? It is the Ben Maller Show.